Up in the mountains, weather can seem as unpredictable as a dice roll, but some of that randomness is actually coming from thousands of miles away. Almost all fervent snow sports participants have, at some point or another, heard of El Niño and La Niña, but few truly understand its causes and implications. Join us today as we explore the El Niño Southern Oscillation and its real impacts on ski season, including this one that's been dominating the headlines. First of all, allow me to make clear that none of us at SRG are meteorologists or climate scientists, nor claim to be. This video is made with some help from a weather-knowledgeable friend and lots of external research, but should not be taken as concrete fact. Now, let's jump right in. To start, let's define what the El Niño Southern Oscillation actually is. Often shortened to just ENSO, this term refers to a three-phase climate phenomenon emerging from variation in trade winds and sea surface temperatures in the tropical Pacific Ocean. It is important to note that the third phase, known just as neutral, is the most common, occurring about half the time. La Niña and El Niño are the opposing edge cases, while neutral sits in the middle. While the phases are generally cyclical, they are irregular and unpredictable. In other words, there can never be a real certainty of what the next year's phase will be until it is actually measured. Importantly, while these phases shift weather probabilities around the world, they don't guarantee specific outcomes. And of course, for this video, we'll be focusing solely on the winter impacts in North America. Alright, with all that established, let's now examine what each of the phases actually mean, starting with neutral. Now, in neutral years, there is no dominant ENSO-driven pattern, so regions tend to see variations due to more localized or shorter-term effects. Over North America, there are two so-called jet streams, which are fast-moving rivers of air high in the atmosphere that steer storms and weather patterns. In a typical winter, the polar jet stream often arcs from the Pacific Northwest across southern Canada and the northern tier of the United States. The subtropical jet stream usually runs from the eastern Pacific near Baja, across northern Mexico, and into the southern United States. These jet streams become more important in the other two phases, as in a neutral pattern there is a mixed influence and a lot of variation. All that's to say that in a neutral pattern, regional patterns dominate and ENSO doesn't have a significant influence. Building off of neutral, let's next discuss El Niño. El Niño is the warm phase, where sea surface temperatures in the tropical Pacific become warmer than average. That warming weakens the normal easterly trade winds, which allows the subtropical jet stream to strengthen and extend eastward, which also weakens the polar jet stream and pushes it a bit north. While it's generally more nuanced than this, one way to think about it is the subtropical jet stealing some of the polar jet's momentum. As the driver of storms, the stronger subtropical jet then drives more low-pressure systems, bringing precipitation and cooler temperatures along and just to the north of its path. For the North American ski scene, this increases the odds of strong snowfall in California and southern Colorado. Meanwhile, due to the weakened polar jet, the Pacific Northwest, northern US Rockies, and western Canada generally see drier conditions. Unlike out west, the Midwest and Northeast ski regions don't see as much of an impact from ENSO, although they are still influenced. In El Niño years, the weakened polar jet increases the probability of the Midwest seeing milder and drier winters. Since the subtropical jet extends further east, it can increase the probability of coastal storms moving up the east coast, increasing the likelihood of nor'easters. However, the impact on these regions is more dependent on local patterns. Finally, it's time to talk about what you've probably all been waiting for, La Niña. La Niña is the cool phase, which features stronger trade winds and thus promotes a more dominant polar jet and a weakened subtropical jet. In many ways, La Niña is the opposite of El Niño, but it's not a perfect mirror. By and large, El Niño is much more consistent than La Niña. This can be seen even when just comparing the record-breaking 2022-23 ski season and the record-breaking but in a different way start to this 2025-26 season, both of which were La Niña. For the North American ski season, La Niña often increases the odds of strong snowfall in the northern US Rockies, Pacific Northwest, and western Canada, while southern regions like California and southern Colorado tend to be warmer and drier. For the Midwest and Northeast, the dominant polar jet can bring cooler, snowier winters to the northern Midwest, while the subtropical jet remains weak, reducing the likelihood of major coastal storms along the East Coast. You may have noticed that when going through the local impacts, we didn't mention northern Colorado and Utah. These two zones are in a bit of a no man's land between the two jet streams. In El Niño years, they can see drier or milder outcomes, and the opposite can happen for La Niña. However, the local topography and microclimates end up having a more significant impact in both phases, which is part of why these regions are so reliable when it comes to annual snowfall, though each winter still depends on local conditions and storm timing. Quickly, I want to address one small thing about climate change.
I know everybody here has their own opinion on this issue, but before you keyboard warriors start to go at it in the comments, please understand that ENSO in the modern day is reliant on relative sea temperatures. That's to say that even though the average global sea surface temperatures have risen over time, ENSO phases can be better determined by relative anomalies, how much temperature is different from the recent global average, rather than the absolute temperature itself.
Alright, let's now address the elephant in the room. What the hell is going on with this ski season? While this season has been a La Niña year, it's been a pretty weak one, only being one of the drivers for this pattern in which some regions get hammered and others are bone dry. A faster moving pattern called the Madden-Julian Oscillation, MJO, has also been a major contributor, shifting the storm track and influencing where snow falls. It's not the only factor. Local weather patterns and other atmospheric quirks also play a role, but the MJO has been one of the main reasons this early season has been so zany. As we said in the intro, we aren't meteorologists, but we can give it a go and offer an outlook for the near future of this ski season. This video is written just before Christmas, so conditions may change before it comes out. However, as of now, historical patterns suggest the potential for the polar jet to extend somewhat later this month, continuing the feast or famine trend that has formed so far this ski season. There is a glimmer of hope for the US, however. In La Niña years like this one, February historically tends to be a better month for the West snowfall-wise. This is just a correlation though, and is far from guaranteed. This season's ups and downs come down to a mix of global patterns and local surprises. Mother Nature clearly likes to keep us guessing. As we write this in December, I'd like to remind both myself and all of you in the drier regions not to write off the season just yet. Even with all the different patterns and probabilities at play, at the end of the day, Mother Nature often finds a way to balance herself out. I'd like to give a quick shout out to Ovation 1K and Skier Arj for correctly guessing the mystery run in What Makes a Ski Resort Good. If you'd like to be shouted out in a future video just like this, keep an eye out for mystery runs and guess them down in the comments. We'd love to hear any and all of your thoughts about anything and everything snow sports down in the comments as well. If you're still with us, I'd like to thank you all for watching. All my love, I'm out.